Here's a thought I had from the comfort of my couch, wearing my favorite pair of sweatpants. The entire school system feels like it was designed by someone who never actually liked children. We take these naturally curious, energetic, wildly different little humans and cram them into a rigid, one-size-fits-all box that runs on bells and tight schedules. Then we act surprised when so many of them are disengaged, stressed out, or just plain bored. It's like trying to teach a fish to climb a tree and then blaming the fish when it can't. So from my couch, let's question the whole thing. What if we rethought school from the ground up, based on how people actually learn, not how a factory operates? At its core, our school system is a relic. We're running a model built for the industrial age, designed to churn out compliant factory workers. Think about it. The bells telling you when to start and stop. Batching kids together by age as if their manufacturing date is the most important thing about them. The neat rows of desks. It's an assembly line. But human brains aren't widgets. They don't develop on a neat, linear schedule. If Amazon ran a warehouse this inefficiently, Jeff Bezos would personally show up with a whistle and a spreadsheet. We see this most clearly in how school systematically ignores basic human needs. A 4-year-old's brain and body demand naps, snacks, and tons of unstructured play. But the second they walk into a formal school, those needs are stripped away for the sake of the schedule. Recess gets shorter, naps vanish, and the day becomes a marathon of sitting still. We're essentially telling kids to ignore their own bodies, to power through fatigue, all for the sake of a time. And what about curiosity? You don't even need research to see it. Kids stop asking questions because school quietly teaches them that curiosity is inconvenient. A preschooler asks a torrent of questions every day. They get obsessed with dinosaurs, or space, or why the sky is blue. Their interests are intense and all-consuming. But the school system has no room for this. A child might be screaming with passion for dinosaurs at age 4, but by age 8, the curriculum says it's time for fractions, ready or not. We've created an environment where the schedule is more important than the spark of genuine interest, and where conformity and standardized testing are prioritized over the things that drive real learning: creativity, problem-solving, and critical thinking. This system is also unbelievably inefficient. Everyone is forced to move at the same pace, so a huge amount of instructional time is wasted. Slower learners are left feeling frustrated and inadequate, while advanced learners are bored and held back. It kills motivation for everyone. The system isn't really designed for learning. It's designed for management. And that's the key problem. This factory model doesn't just waste time. It actively creates anxiety and teaches all the wrong lessons. The biggest tool of the factory is the grade. We're obsessed with letters and percentages that are supposed to measure learning but often do the exact opposite. A single letter grade mashes together actual understanding with things like attendance, participation, and whether you handed in your homework on time. It completely obscures what a student actually knows and can do. That's not motivation. That's a room full of kids quietly panicking while pretending everything is fine. The system isn't fostering a love of learning. It's creating anxiety centered on performance. We're teaching kids to chase points, not knowledge. This leads to an illusion of learning. Kids get really good at playing the game of school, memorizing facts just long enough to pass the test, and then promptly forgetting them. We've built a system that rewards recall over retention and scores over skills. In an age of AI and instant information, where you can look up any fact in seconds, this focus on rote memorization is more obsolete than ever. The skills that actually matter now, critical thinking, collaboration, and adaptability, are often pushed aside because they're harder to measure with a multiple-choice test. We're measuring button seat time instead of brains on fire. The diploma becomes proof that you endured the system, not that you acquired real-world skills. Companies like Google, Apple, and IBM are dropping degree requirements for many jobs, focusing instead on demonstrated abilities. They've realized a transcript mostly proves you were good at surviving school, not that you can actually solve a complex problem. Now, from my couch, it's easy to throw stones. And to be fair, it's not all bad. Traditional schools provide some essential things. They offer structure and routine, which helps build discipline. They are vital hubs for socialization, where kids learn to navigate friendships, resolve conflicts, and develop empathy. Changing this massive system isn't simple. It's not just adult stubbornness. There are enormous logistical challenges, like how to personalize learning for 30 students in one class. There are serious issues of equity, ensuring every child gets a quality education regardless of their background. And there are institutional roadblocks, like union contracts, teacher training costs, and the billion-dollar standardized testing industry. The problem isn't that schools are evil. It's that they are an outdated technology trying to work in a world that has completely changed. So what does a better system look like? The most promising alternative is a model called mastery-based learning. The core idea is simple but revolutionary. Learning is the constant, and time is the variable. Instead of moving on because the calendar says it's Tuesday, students advance only when they have truly mastered a concept. Imagine no more age-based grade levels. Instead, you have learning pods grouped by mastery. Younger kids might start their day with snacks and even nap pods because rest is critical for learning. Their curriculum becomes a playlist of their interests. If a kid is obsessed with robotics, their math, physics, and writing lessons are woven into building and programming a robot. Another child fascinated by ancient Egypt learns history, geography, and art through that lens. The focus shifts from lectures and seat time to curiosity-driven projects and real-world skills. In a mastery system, assessment isn't a high-stakes test you take once. It's an ongoing process of feedback and revision. You don't get an F, you get not yet. You're given the time and support to try again until you get it right. This fundamentally changes a student's mindset. Failure is no longer a final judgment, but a natural part of learning, which builds resilience and a growth mindset. Research shows that this approach leads to higher retention, deeper understanding, and greater confidence. It's particularly effective for students who traditionally struggle because it gives them the time they need to succeed, while also allowing high achievers to accelerate without being held back. This isn't some futuristic fantasy. Schools already implementing project-based and mastery models report that students are more engaged, better at problem solving, and have a greater sense of ownership over their education. Technology can be a huge help here. AI-powered platforms can create personalized learning paths, provide instant feedback, and free up teachers from administrative work so they can do what they do best: mentor, inspire, and connect with students on a human level. Ultimately, this all boils down to a fundamental question. Is the goal of education about desks or discovery? This is just my sweatpants philosophy, a thought experiment from the couch, but I'm genuinely curious about what you think. What was your experience with school? What drove you crazy? And if you could design a school from scratch, what's the most important thing you would change? Share your ideas in the comments below. We have a system that prizes standardization over individuality, measures attendance over understanding, and too often smothers the natural curiosity it should be fanning into flame. It's a system designed for a different time, and it's failing too many kids. But by shifting the focus from time to mastery, from grades to growth, and from a rigid curriculum to genuine curiosity, we can build something so much better. We can create schools that don't just prepare students for tests, but prepare them for life. A system that finally acknowledges that every mind is different and that learning isn't a race to be won, but a journey to be experienced. And that's a thought worth getting off the couch for.